Good day, viewers, and welcome to yet another episode of EnviroTalk, a program brought to you by the Environmental Management Agency, where we get to discuss environmental issues affecting us, affecting our communities, and the nation at large. I'm your host, Joyce Chapungu, and today we are delving into a critical matter of tree planting. We're going to discuss the science behind the ecological importance of trees, their cultural significance, as well as success stories of people that have engaged themselves in tree planting. And to discuss this further, I've invited Tafadzwa Gwini, who is a team leader for the Greening Kuwadzana Project, a project which is based in the suburb of Kuwadzana in the city of Harare here in Zimbabwe. And this project aims at environmental conservation with tree planting as one of its major components. Tafadzwa, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for accepting our invitation. And as we start, let's dive right in. Can you tell us who Tafadzwa is and what does he do? How does he fit into this tree planting discourse?
Okay, Tafadzwa is a cultural and environmental justice activist or advocate, if you like, who's passionate about changing the lives of people living in low-income, high-density suburbs where I come from. And Tafadzwa is determined to make sure that the people in low-income, high-density suburbs have adequate access to green spaces, which is essential for a developed human being in the 21st century.
Oh, wow. What a beautiful profile. But what's your background? You said you are an environmental and social justice activist. So are you a lawyer? Are you an environmentalist? What's your background, especially the educational bit?
All right. No, I said I'm a cultural and environmental justice activist. But my academic background, I was trained as an economic historian at the University of Zimbabwe. Yeah, basically, yes.
And what's an economic historian?
Economic history studies the distribution of resources within a locality or a country or a region. Right. Yeah. So, but from a historical perspective.
All right. Yeah. So, can we safely say now you are applying that economic history into environmental conservation?
Well, exactly. An economic historian should be planting trees.
That's great. All right. So, coming from an economic historian background, now an environmental and social justice activist, what then inspired you to shift to environmental conservation?
Okay, in 2017, I was at the University of Zimbabwe, and I used to stay. I stayed in Kuwadzana at that time. In fact, I still stay in Kuwadzana, but okay. I used to commute every day from Kuwadzana to Mount Pleasant. Kuwadzana is a low-income, high-density suburb, and Mount Pleasant, where UZ is located, is a high-income, low-density suburb.
All right.
So. Kuwadzana bus stop, waiting for the bus to take you to Mount Pleasant. Mm-hmm. The place is like hot as if you're in an oven or something like that. Kuku pizza. And then 30 minutes later, you're in Mount Pleasant. Everything has just changed. The environment is all of a sudden so cool, as if you're surrounded by natural air conditioners. Okay. So that really used to bother me. What's up? What's wrong with us people living in high-density suburbs? Mm-hmm. And then I started to notice that the reason why we have different microclimatic conditions was in the tree density. All right. Whereas in Mount Pleasant, where there are very few people, there are so many trees. Yet at the same time, Kuwadzana, Takawanda Panjumbo 1, and there are very, very few trees. That's the reason why there was this difference in microclimatic conditions.
All right, so that's where inspiration then came
That's where the inspiration. So I was motivated by the fact that as soon as I finished school, I wanted to bring Mount Pleasant back to Kuwadzana.
Wow, and you are managing to do that.
We could say that.
Step by step.
Yeah, we could say that.
That's great. So now you have this organization called Greening Kuwadzana Project. Would you want to tell us a bit about that organization and what's its vision, its mandate, and how does it fit into environmental conservation? What exactly do you do? I know you do tree planting, but that's not all you do. Can you explain your other activities and how they fit into environmental conservation?
Yeah, sure. The Greening Kuwadzana Project is an initiative we started in 2020. In fact, we kick-started it in 2020, 19 December.
So how long was that after you came from school, from college rather?
I finished college in 2019.
Okay. Okay, all right.
And I was like, instead of just sitting around, let me just, start to implement this movement.
All right.
Yeah, because I had been planning it for quite some time. Yeah, and even if I had if I had found a job, I was still going to do it.
Right.
Yeah. So the Greening Kuwadzana, the ideology behind it is to increase green spaces in low-income, high-density suburbs, starting with Kuwadzana. I think if you check with the Sustainable Development Goals, the Goal 11, Target 7, I think, talks about increase of access to green spaces. Yeah, that's where part of the inspiration comes from.
Goal 11, which is sustainable cities and communities.
Exactly. Target 7 specifically talks about access to green spaces.
Right.
Yeah, green spaces are whether they are trees, they are parks. Kuwadzana, we are reviving the last park in Yasara, the Kuwadzana Major Park. We have most of my high density suburbs do not have parks. Most high density suburbs do not have trees. The reason why Kuwadzana has been so hot, and at the same time Greystone Park or even Mount Pleasant, they are cooler.
Cool.
Yeah. So the mission was to increase tree density to match Mount Pleasant. So the project or the initiative is composed of around, I think, 11 thematic areas. For instance, we have the tree-lined streets or the tree-canopied streets, whereby we are trying to create our main roads with canopies of trees. Like, for instance, what's like there at Parirenyatwa, if you walk through that road, Newton Park Road, you'll notice that you are walking under a tunnel of trees.
That's a beautiful scenery.
Exactly. That's really beautiful, and Kuwadzana should also look like that.
And I've seen a lot of people doing their photo shoots around such areas.
Exactly.
And they come out so nice.
The next thing, tourists will be coming.
And generating income for our country.
Yeah. So that's one of the items. So we have managed to complete the Kuwadzana First Street and the 210 streets, and so we'll be embarking soon enough along Blayo Road and Highland Road. And then we also have the fruit trees in schools. Fruit trees in schools is meant to alleviate cases of extreme hunger and malnutrition. There's no school in Kuwadzana which does not have fruit trees. We planted in both government schools and private schools, and including council schools. Every school in Kuwadzana has some fruit trees. We contributed there.
So sorry to cut you there. So if you say every school has a tree, did you donate to them? Did you sell to them?
No.
How did you contribute?
We are not selling trees. We are donating trees. We are teaching kids how to plant fruit trees, how to properly plant fruit trees. Planting a tree is not just digging a hole and placing a tree. No, that's why we fail to have adequate survival rate, because we assume that just digging a hole and planting, putting the tree that's what's called planting a tree.
Okay.
So we go into schools teaching kids how to properly plant trees. We are also teaching kids plant propagation, like the basic budding and grafting skills. We believe that every kid should at least know how to bud a tree, how to graft a tree.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
what I also want to go and stay in Kuwadzana. Maybe I can get some fruit trees. So if people want trees for their homes, do they also get?
No, we sell trees. The owner of the trees is Mr. Duri. We're talking of a 70-year-old pensioner, 74-year-old pensioner who's donating trees in Kuwadzana. So the least we can do to support him is if you want trees for your private property, you can actually buy from him. Trust me, he has the best trees in the country.
Is it?
Yeah,
Wow,
sure.
that's great.
Okay. We also have the fruit. I talked about the fruit trees in schools. We also have the tree care therapy for mental health. Tree care therapy for mental health. This is a strategy of taking care of the trees that we plant, because planting trees is one thing, but taking care of them, that's where much of the work is. So we combine it with mental health exercises. For instance, in Kuwadzana, we are facing challenges of youth who end up, in substance abuse, in depression, suicidal thoughts because of my mental challenges, which are associated with living in low-income identity suburbs.
Okay.
So, tree care therapy for mental health is a platform where we can, a safe space where we can discuss, mental health challenges, and more like a support group where we support each other as we are taking care of trees. So many studies are pointing to the fact that taking care of trees is actually a mental therapy exercise. So we are digging into those studies. Particularly, we have Professor Sullivan and Kuo from the University of Illinois, who are actually focusing much into the link between mental health and tree care.
Okay.
As part of it, we also have events such as Dance for Climate Action, Beats, Rhymes, and Climate Justice, and Community Mobilization for Climate Justice. Those, we are using them as a way of advocating for the work that we are doing, conscientizing people on the importance of trees, of tree conservation, of not cutting down trees, of not just littering everywhere, the importance of cleanup campaigns and stuff. So, yeah. So those are some of the programs under the Greening Kuwadzana Project, but we have more, of course. There are about 11.
I'm interested in the dance for trees.
Dance for climate action.
Dance for climate action. I think next time you have that, please invite me so that I can dance a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. It's actually one of the most popular events of ours. It even attracted international news for our second edition. It's an annual event. Yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful. So next time, please invite me. I'll come. So to date, how many trees have you planted?
Just a little over 5,000 trees.
Wow, that's a lot. And do you have a target, like maybe for a 10-year target? What's your... where do you see yourself? How many trees do you see yourself having planted maybe in the next 2 to 5 years or so?
Okay, our target was to plant 5,000 trees between 2020 and 2025.
All right.
Get me right. Our target was to plant at least
All right.
5,000 trees. 5,000. So we have managed to plant 5,000 trees in 4 years. So we still have
2024.
Between 2020 and 2024. So we still have a year. We have already surpassed the target.
Wow, that's great. And talking about, you spoke about the elderly men whom you said you work with. That's a collaboration right there. Yeah. Are there any other organizations that you have collaborated with, maybe in the among other CSOs, or even in the private sector, or even government organizations?
Okay, the Greening Kuwadzana Project in itself is a collaborative effort of Kuwadzana Press, which I represent, Duli Greenfinger Nursery, which is represented by Mr. Duli, and then Let's Green the Future Trust, which is represented by Tendai Moyo. But we have also worked with different other organizations. For instance, we have received immense support from Action Aid Zimbabwe and Global Platforms Zimbabwe. We have been supported by Black Crystal, environmental consultancy. We have been supported by, York Africa. We have been supported by business communities in Kuwadzana. We have been supported immensely by City of Harare, Kuwadzana District. Even Zeterapi Kuwadzana has supported us so much. Some I can't think, but we have Sisonke Climate Justice Project. We have collaborated with them. Or Ndinewe Foundation, that's our partner in mental health advocacy. And yeah, I may be forgetting some other organizations. Not that they are not important, but we have over 15 organizations we are working with.
That's great. And you're really establishing partnerships that are proving to be fruitful.
Yeah, the partnerships are key to the survival of any CSO community, based organizations. Yeah, they are key. That's the reason why we've gone this far, because of those partnerships. Yeah,
that's great. Now coming back to the issue of trees. In Zimbabwe we've got an environmental calendar where we observe certain environmental days. And we have the National Tree Planting Day, which falls on the first Saturday of December each year. So maybe would you kindly explain to us the importance of this day and even its origins? I know it's a day that is peculiar for Zimbabwe, and you are directly involved in tree planting. You can explain to us the origins, the importance, and how people can be involved in that particular day.
Okay. Yeah, soon as we attained independence in 1980, the first African government decided that we needed a day, to preserve our tangible cultural heritage in the name of trees, and to also to promote biodiversity and environmental conservation. The protection of our woodlands, and sharing the importance of taking care of our woodlands resources. So the first Saturday of December was chosen because mostly our rains fall in December, and the best time to plant trees, if you are in Zimbabwe, it's December, so that even if you cannot go back to take care of them, the rains will do the job for you.
Right.
That's why it fell on December, the first Saturday of December.
Right.
And later on, that day is proving to be important, especially when it comes to fighting climate change. We are in the age of climate crisis, and trees play a pivotal role in alleviating the impact of climate change especially in vulnerable communities like high density suburbs. So it's a very, very, very important day in the calendar of our country.
All right. So what's your advice to the people during this period, during this December? Who is supposed to plant the trees? Is it you? Is it government? Or everyone should do something?
I think people have a wrong perception of thinking that the government are the people sitting in the office. No, it's not the government. The government is you. Okay. You are the government. You are the citizen. You have the responsibility and the duty to take care of your environment. So if you ask me, who is supposed to be planting trees, I'll ask you back, who do you think is supposed to be planting the trees?
Me.
Exactly. It's you.
And you. Yeah, everyone.
Everyone, every Zimbabwean is supposed to be planting those trees, because living in an environment without green spaces will not affect Mr. Government, man.
Yeah, maybe he stays in Mount Pleasant.
Mount Pleasant, you see, you are in Kuwadzana and you are waiting for the government to come and plant trees for you. That should be upset. So you are planting trees for the sake of your health and for the sake of your children's health and for the sake of the future generations to come. So it's your responsibility as a Zimbabwean citizen to go out there and plant trees, for your country. Yeah.
There you have it, viewers. It's your responsibility to plant trees wherever you are. All right, as we wrap up our program, maybe you can just briefly tell us some of the challenges that you have faced in implementing the projects that you're talking about, and even in setting up your organization.
So setting up wasn't really difficult, because at that time we had a very, very supportive district officer, Mr. Chinyanga. That man was very supportive, and he was working for a city of Kwazana district.
Right.
So when we pitched up the idea, he received us with both hands, and he went out of his way to make sure that Kwazana is green. We really appreciate him. So it was really easy for us to set up. But the challenges we have been facing mostly it's vandalism due to urban farming.
Alright.
You know, kwazinozigana dzasvika vanotanga nokupisa, to bend the grounds which they want to plant. So a young tender tree which is about 6 months to a year is vulnerable to those fires, so they don't survive. And vanenge vachipisa a land yakakura more like a kilometer, which is young trees, that's one of the challenges we had faced, and we are still facing even up to now, although we have managed to alleviate it by actually waking up kuma 6 a.m. because the people who do the urban farming does it kuma 6 a.m. waking up and trying to knock sense into their heads about the importance of actually, please just avoid this tree, just don't cut it, do what you're doing, but please don't destroy our trees, as we are also trying to engage with the council to actually help us with this illegal urban farming activities. Others are even planting more ground. Those are some of the challenges we are facing. Another challenge was our fault. When we started the Greening Kuwadzana Project, we went into the major park. We were, at that time, some apostolic sects were praying in there. So us, armed with a letter from the city of Harare, we think, we're the bosses. We just go there, we start planting our trees. 6 months down the line, I think we planted 67 trees for starters. When we went back there 6 months later, not even one tree. Not even one tree, like, which was them.
They couldn't survive.
They couldn't survive because we did not engage the community, the people who were actually using those spaces. So the next thing we did was when we went back, we invited this apostolic sects to join us in the tree planting process. And guess what? 100% success rate.
Wow.
So an advice for any startup, don't ever make the mistake that we made of ignoring the people, in your community. Engage with the community for your project to survive.
Engagement is really important.
Engagement is everything, trust me.
Yeah. I guess they are learning and they are taking notes from you. So now, just in a few seconds as you wrap up, maybe the reason why people go on to bend these trees and maybe cut them down is because they don't know the importance of trees. Maybe just in a minute you can share why trees are important.
Okay.
Are they even important in the first place?
It's not a coincidence. Yokuti, I need to talk to people in identity suburbs. It's not a coincidence. Yokuti kukwadzana uklenola kuna miti, Greystone Park kuna nimali kuna miti. It's not a coincidence. Trust me.
It's an effort.
Not an effort as such, but our country is coming from a colonial history which was segregated. Those places they used to be called white spaces. And where we live in Vaiwatima native locations. I'm a historian, by the way.
Okay. Now the history is coming.
Now the history is coming. So it was engineered. Kuti isusu tigare kun kusina miti ivo vachigara kun kune miti. Trees are an essential public health infrastructure. That alone should push you in starting to plant trees. So trees are your first doctor. Before waenda kunona doctor, trees are basically doing the job. If invisibly or indirectly or directly, they take care of you, both your mental health and your physical health. Lung cancer, yakawanjira kupi kuma location. Asthma, yakawanjira kupi kuma location. And kusina miti. Vanhu yokumusha vatu nani when it comes to those particular diseases. And vanhu yokuma low density, we don't even talk. And basically, vanhu yokuma low density, they have my medical aids. So
because they are high income.
You see,
low density.
You see,
then Kuwadzana will be
low income, high density suburbs. Saka, by the structure of our colonial history, we are in those positions, but we don't have to be stuck in our past. It's now in our power to recreate, to re-engineer our communities. And trees, anything. Trees are the most important because they take care. Trees are the lungs, So trees are everything. That's what I can tell you. If you ask me, Kuti, what's the importance of trees? The importance of trees is everything.
All right.
that is to do with your physical and mental wellness.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Tafadzwa. That's quite insightful and so informative. There you have it, viewers. Tafadzwa said trees are everything. So before you even start building on your stand, plant trees. Before you start doing anything, plant trees. We can transform our high-density suburbs to become like the Mount Pleasants, the Borodale Brooks, the Glenlawns. We can take Glenlawn from where it is to right where we are. So till we meet again next time, please like our podcast and share with family and friends. Thank you very much.